Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Oh, hey, everybody.
And today we're actually going to be talking a little bit about Andrew Yang getting appointed, getting the nod. I don't know how you put it, but basically recommended as part of the small business push that Joe Biden's putting together for his campaign. Cody, tell us what's going on.
All right, cool. So one thing that's been kind of in the discussion, I guess you could say, about Andrew Yang, really since he endorsed Joe Biden and has kind of moved on. I mean, since he's moved on to now CNN contributor, he's working with the Biden team in some ways, endorsed Joe Biden. One of the kind of main points of contention questions is, will Andrew Yang actually get a spot in the Biden administration if Biden's elected? And there's kind of been some back and forth there. Personally, I have becoming more and more of the mind he won't. And actually, this story reaffirms why I think that. So let's go through this. Biden
Can you just repeat that really fast? You're more of the mind that he won't what?
He will not be brought into the Biden administration in like a cabinet position.
So you think they're kind of like leading him on a little bit?
I mean, like, will he be appointed as an advisory thing? You'll see some other people on this advisory thing. Sure. And I don't know. Maybe he'll get some small marginalized technically cabinet role. I'll be technically incorrect. I don't care. And we'll go through in a minute as to why I think he'll lose out to the competition. And I like Andrew Yang, but I just mean some of these people probably have another decade of favors owed to them by other people than he does. So
okay,
let's go through this for now. So this is reporting from Bloomberg this morning that Biden is launching a small business push with Yang, Hickenlooper, and others, which they don't leave out there. Anyway, the campaign ads will feature owners struggling in the pandemic, and the effort intends to strike a contrast with Trump on the U.S. economy. Doing a little bit of cursory research, it seems that for now, it really is mostly featuring on this pandemic. And we'll go through that why also in a second. But I want to get through this first. So Biden's campaign on Wednesday announced it will seek to strike a contrast with President Trump on the economy. Oh, I had no idea that was something Joe Biden was trying to do, was highlight the contrast. Let's get to the actual thing here. So the campaign will initiate an advisory council on small businesses and entrepreneurship that includes the owner of a Miami empanada company, as well as 2020 presidential candidate Andrew Yang and John Hickenlooper, who's now running for Senate in Colorado. Apparently the empanada company got top billing over Yang in that list of people there. So Biden's team will begin to broadcast a set of 4 ads across Arizona, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania that feature owners who are struggling because of the coronavirus pandemic. A pair of Washington Post ABC polls of voters in Arizona and Florida published Wednesday underscored that Trump's strongest issue remains the national economy, despite disapproval of his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. This isn't in the article, just myself anecdotally. It does seem to me that Biden sometimes does try to make the Biden campaign is trying to make these stretches between Trump's COVID response to like literally everything in the world, and sometimes people just aren't hearing it. I wonder if this is one of those times. But anyway.
Well, I noticed, if I could just interject really fast, Cody, that yesterday when we were doing, or not yesterday, but when we were doing our live stream, actually it was yesterday, I saw so many comments where people were just expressing this disdain for this what they call the ruling class now. One of the comments literally said, my grandmother says that they are the Republican and the Democrat Party are 2 wings on the same buzzard. And I don't think anybody looking and reading this article actually thinks as a gut and a visceral reaction that, oh yeah, Joe Biden's putting a fix together. It seems like these are a bunch of figureheads so we could say that we would have had a better response so that we can then attack Donald Trump, but we don't actually think there will be any boots on the ground, real life difference made in people's lives. And I think evolutionarily in our core, people feel that way. Does that make sense?
Sure. But again, this is literally part of a campaign they're running to beat somebody.
Okay.
I mean, like,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
I guess we could wax poetic, but like literally what's happening here is Joe Biden's trying to win an election. And so he's got to have to say, well, Trump's kind of weak in COVID response because honestly, COVID response is a pretty nebulous thing. We can't compare it to any other United States' COVID response. So we don't know if it's good or bad. You can assume one way or the other. And he's trying to use that as a weapon, it seems like, which sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But there's 2 paragraphs I want to get to here and we'll move on.
Let's hit it.
This was interesting. So while the new Biden initiative doesn't include new policy announcements, the campaign is using it as an opportunity to highlight the ideas for small businesses that Biden has already proposed, including new grants instead of loans and efforts to make sure that aid gets to concerns with 50 or fewer employees. So we'll get through that. And then the other thing is this. That in a nod to Biden's love of ice cream, the advisory council includes 2 ice cream company founders and big-time Democratic political donors, Jenny Brittenbauer of Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream. I actually talked about that before, and Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's, both of which big-time donors and supporters of the Democratic Party. feels more like a favor than anything to them, right? Anyway, Daniel Lubitsky, the executive founder of Kind Snacks and the occasional guest on ABC Shark Tank, is part of the group. Mills and another former Obama administration SBA administrator, Maria Contreras-Sweet, are also on the panel, as is former Obama Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack. So that is... Oh, and sorry. Gregory and Sabrina Collier, the owners of 2 restaurants in Charlotte, North Carolina, are on the council and are to join Biden on Wednesday at what the campaign is calling the Black Economic Summit, actually going on as we're recording right now. I think wrapping up as we're recording right now. The group also includes the president of an accounting firm in Cincinnati and the owner of marketing business in Henderson, Nevada, among others. So here's the kind of buried lead on this one that kind of struck me as interesting. They're putting the title, Andrew Yang and John Hickenlooper. And you get a little bit further, it's like, well, it's Andrew Yang, John Hickenlooper, this guy who owns a Miami empanada company. And you get a little bit further, it's like, well, and it's like these donors that own ice cream companies, and it's a guy in Shark Tank, and it's some former Obama people, and it's another former Obama guy. And you get even deeper, it's like it's a couple of local restaurant
owners. It almost
owners.
seems like Andrew Yang's getting played.
The further down I got that, this article starts off being like, wow, and you get to the bottom and you're like, oh, so Andrew Yang's hanging out with the ice cream company donors and the empanada guy and somebody who's on what is this?
By the way, what company?
The Kind Snacks guys. By the way, you see Kind Snacks in like every Walgreens and CVS, right? But like,
yeah.
And there's just one thing that's kind of interesting in this because we're getting conflicting. That's why I read into this personally. But today, when this was announced, Zach Grumman tweeted this out, saying, for those wondering if Andrew Yang will have a voice in the Biden administration, the answer is yes.
But doesn't that smack of a bone getting thrown to the Yang gang?
That's kind of my point more.
Like, to me, this all smacks of just Andrew Yang getting used so somebody can say, oh, look, we included him. Oh, look, Yang gang, be happy. And I don't know if they just think that the Yang gang is so stupid that they'll think, oh, you put him on an advisory board. Yeah, that you'll never listen to and won't actually make it into the real administration.
Well, they say right here that the other thing too, the other key I want to point to is that this new initiative, it doesn't include any new policy announcements. It's just, it's using it as an opportunity to highlight the ideas they already have. So let's just go through those ideas and see if these seem like the kind of ideas and maybe Andrew Yang would have influence on Joe Biden on. I kind of went through it and didn't. I'm assuming this is what he's talking about because it kind of sounds like what he was talking about in there. Joe Biden's proposals to set up support for deserving small businesses. Here's what Joe Biden thinks we should do. He wants to establish a true small business fund. Congressional Democrats secured and set aside $60 billion in funds for smaller lenders and community-based financial institutions, which are frequently best positioned to get resources into the hands of deserving small businesses and vulnerable communities. Joe Biden is calling on the Trump administration to go even further as it implements the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program. The Trump administration should reserve fully half of all new PPP funds, and I'll post the link so you can go through all of it. But you'll notice a lot of this is really just directly stuff relating to the pandemic. No unjust enrichment, keep off businesses owners from using any program to unjustly enrich themselves. Maybe Andrew Yang is big all of a sudden on PPP abuses. I know we talked about it. A lot of people were. The Lakers famously got a PPP loan. Like, I understand this, but this doesn't feel like Andrew Yang's influence on the campaign. Like, yeah, I guess no unjust enrichment. Like, we joked about the guy in Florida, like, bought a Lamborghini with it, right?
Yeah.
Make sure the program's terms actually help small businesses. Again, we're talking about PPP, really kind of current pandemic economy stuff, providing a guarantee that every small business will get relief rather than, again, this is just mostly economic relief stuff. And that does seem to be, again, going through the article, the gist of it. So I don't want to be like, oh, it's nothing down, but just the more I look into this, the more it feels like Joe Biden is setting up something to like make some ads and have some, events to talk about what he already wants to talk about. And he's like, okay, Yang and Hickenlooper, those are a couple of big name guys we can add to it. But realistically, you get deeper and it's like they're throwing not anybody, but like there's just local business owner. Like it's not like this isn't the brain trust of the Biden campaign here. And that's a little bit, and the reason why I want to talk about that too is because let's go through and see what are people in the media discussing. This is published 16th of September, CNBC. Yeah. So what would Biden's White House economic team look like, right? Like if Yang were to be in the kind of big more, people have talked about labor or economy, something like that. But let's just go through who else are in the running for this.
Oh boy.
They mentioned that longtime Biden... So despite a deep bench of economic advisors to the Biden campaign, Wall Street speculators have drummed up a list of policymakers who could appear in the White House if the Democrat wins in November. And we'll go through this. So they mentioned the cast ranges from progressive favorite Senator Elizabeth Warren to equability economist Heather Bushey, longtime Biden confidant Jared Bernstein is also thought to be a top contender for the role, while others speculate that Federal Reserve Governor Lael Brainerd could be on the short list. So we got, longtime Biden confidants. We have Elizabeth Warren. I mean, my only point is saying I like Andrew Yang. I think he's a smart guy and probably could do a better job than some of these people. But it's just he's kind of cutting a lot of lines if we were to jump into a legitimate, important position here. And while we did see that happen a little bit last election with Donald Trump basically destroyed the Republican Party to win. Like they kind of had to just have people start skipping the line and appointing people because there wasn't this infrastructure. There isn't a lot of ways still that Obama infrastructure left. I mean, we were mentioning in that this new thing they created, there's Obama people on it. I feel like they have names in mind. I mean, look at this. Elizabeth Warren. Here we go. Lael Brainerd. She is the Federal Reserve, a current member of the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. I like Andrew Yang, but that's one hell of a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, it doesn't seem like Andrew Yang's really top on this list.
But then we can get to
his net worth is less than $2
Quibi
million.
CEO. They got the Quibi CEO up there. But what my larger point is, because it doesn't mean these people are going to get elected, and also
these are all literally billionaires.
Yeah, and people have also talked about
maybe not billionaires, but multi-millionaires for generational wealth.
I just want to make one last thing clear. I mean, there's an idea. I mean, was just Richard Cordray. He was the first and former director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Okay. What else we got here? We got Tom Nietz, former member of the Obama administration. Like I said, some of these Obama people. Now, people are saying that maybe Yang more in line to be like labor secretary or like the technology. Yeah. I'm not saying that's not true either. My only point is I have to imagine there's people going back to the Obama administration in line for those positions also.
Yeah. I mean, you can't say that VP Biden of the Obama administration is interested in getting the fun new kid on the block a position when he's still probably paying off 40 years worth of favors. I mean, he's more worried about, really, how high on the priority list is getting this new kid on the block a power position than paying off a 20-year donor that's helped you in, at least 5 elections.
Yeah, I mean, even that, just people you've known longer. People that
exactly.
you've worked with. It's just, because the larger thing here, I don't want to make it seem like doom and gloom. It is good news, I guess, for Andrew. I mean, not guess. It is good news that Andrew Yang has been appointed to something, right? I'm not trying to, like clown on him. I'm just saying that there is this kind of, and we're going to talk about this, I think we're going to talk about this a little bit too, but Marianne Williamson recently went on Andrew Yang's podcast, and she kind of talked about this with him, kind of saying, look, you're kind of you have a seat at the table now, which I guess is kind of hard for him to argue he doesn't. You're kind of in with these more establishment players now. What are you going to do? And I mean, I like Andrew Yang. I'm a big fan of Andrew Yang. I've been following him for a while, but I acknowledge that Andrew Yang also is, he wasn't in the Obama administration for 8 years with Joe Biden. He hasn't been donating money to Democrats on a big level for years and years and years. He hasn't been working with these people for years and years and years. And maybe that's where this gets you. It gets you on these, these nice little things where we're going to put some ads together. And I don't know, maybe the way and this is also true, right? You put a press release out, and then what actually happens later aren't always the same thing. Maybe this turns into something deeper than that. But I don't know, man. The more I look at this, the more I feel like, Andrew Yang is in a weird spot. Because as kind of Marion brought up with him is you risk being in the spot where, you get strung along with, you got to sacrifice a little bit, and you got to hold your tongue a little bit, and you got to go along with things you don't love a little bit, because then later you can do good. But, I mean, a lot of people never get to later. They're just stuck in sacrificing and holding their tongue.
I feel almost exactly the same way. To me, this smacks of Andrew Yang is getting played. He's getting thrown these participation trophies. Thanks for showing up advisory roles that really don't mean anything. Nobody that's read this article or has seen any of these tweets or these announcements actually thinks this means anything. And to a certain extent,
not true, I don't think.
Okay, well, nothing here has struck me as pretty substantial. And I think the reason why is because I know the way these people think. I mean, it's true on the Republican side as well. I don't think it's as bad, but I know for a fact it's this way over on the Democrat side. They care about one thing: money and votes. Okay? And as Andrew Yang brought them tons of money, is he a huge deep pockets donor? Does he have the ear of a huge deep pockets donor? Not really. I mean, he was a super egalitarian candidate. He didn't have a major industry behind him. He didn't have a single issue behind him. Obviously, UBI could be considered a single issue, but it's not like, the oil lobby was behind him with their billions, okay? He had a bunch of small donors and was an awesome internet candidate, okay? And so some people might say, well, if it's not money, because he has no history of being a huge donor, of bringing massive donors, is it votes? Well, kind of. And it almost seems like they're maybe testing him out to see if he'll keep bringing the Yang Gang with him just by nominating him as a figurehead. I don't know. It does not smack of substantial to me. That's all. And when it doesn't smack of substantial to me, I think, Andrew, what are you getting out of this? I mean, you're throwing your hat in with these people and you're giving them a lot. You're basically pointing the Yang Gang in their direction. You're giving them all your votes, but you're not controlling the conversation because you're not in a power position to control the conversation. I don't know. It just doesn't seem, it seems like the Democrats are getting a lot more out of Andrew Yang than Andrew Yang is getting out of the Democrats. And they don't really seem to be giving a viable path to future leadership.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like this situation is not new at all, man. That like the people with all the money and people holding all the chips just convince people, nah, you just gotta wait a little longer. You just gotta string it out a little longer. Hey, I know this might not be the appointment you want. Maybe the next one will. We just need and I agree, and it leads to, I don't know, man. But at the same time, though, Andrew's a smart guy. Again, none of this has to go. As it's been presented to me in the little bit of digging I've done initially, it doesn't seem like this is really anything huge. It looks like they're going to put together some ads and maybe do some events, but could it be more later on? I mean, in the opinion of Andrew Yang's own campaign advisor or campaign head, apparently, right? I mean, maybe this is proof, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of people who did a lot of favors for Barack Obama and Joe Biden for 8 years in that White House that I have to imagine are expecting something in return of Biden.
But to me,
a lot of people have delivered more progressive. There'll be a lot more people responsible for delivering progressive votes if Biden wins than Yang, I believe, because Yang notedly wasn't the chief progressive. You might see Warren as Bernie as the chief progressives running in the primary. So, like, I could see a lot of reasons. And one last thing, it's kind of goofy, but one last reason why.
Okay.
Andrew Yang disrespected Joe Biden on the day of his granddaughter's graduation. But I mean, just again, they don't have a long history going through this, and it was an interesting little thing here where Andrew Yang called out Joe Biden for missing an event, and this is a pretty interesting response Joe Biden had. To me, I have to admit to you, this particular person said he would have been there. Well, I have different values than him, so. Again, his Biden's current vice president also said that she thinks he's a molester and that he's a racist. So, like, bygones be bygones. I understand.
I was going to say, if Joe Biden has proven anything, it's the ability to completely forget how people have dogged you in the past and say, oh, it was a debate. Okay, I guarantee you that alone is proof that these people are more interested in power than inherent values, okay? Because if you can forget what Kamala Harris said and then turn around and appoint her as VP, then you just know it has nothing to do with respect, morals, anything like that.
Well, or
it's all a power position.
Yeah. Well, no,
shamelessly transactional.
You know that, look, I was going up on the stage and saying things I don't believe in, and you were saying things you don't believe. It doesn't mean, when no one believes any of this stuff, it doesn't matter what they say about you because it's all a game, and that's a different story for a different day.
Exactly. So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Let us know if there's something that we've missed. If you like this video, please make sure you smash the like button. If you disliked it and you disagreed, make sure you smash the dislike button. Either way, let us know what you think. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.